Ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? This is Mosen here with MTA 31, and it's for the 6th of November 2018, and the topics today are classic subscription costs, Druid and Paladin taunts and tanks in vanilla, and the vanilla Dark Knights, and the buffoon of the day. And what that is going to be, you will see in a second. But let's start right out with the first topic, and that is the classic subscription costs. And this has been something that has been requested by quite a few people over the forums. And it's first off, it's like quite refreshing to go through these forum posts of the official forums once again, to see what people think. And there's an actual, hub again for people to exchange their minds, so it's amazing to go through the forums. We'll do that a little bit for some MTAs, then we'll go back into in-game stuff where I show you stuff, and I still got so much to write down, written down that I want to show you guys, but right now there's so much going on in the forums, understandably so, that we're probably just gonna go through a couple of these topics, and because there's so much to get out of them, and I think it's very interesting. So let's go into the subscription costs after I've gotten a sip of my coffee. Because coffee is important for you, like an apple a day. Yes, classic the subscription costs, and it's a threat coming in from Decoy World of the guild Atoms for Peace. An Undead Warrior, and it's from the EU forums today. Tia is asking what we think of the planned subscription costs for playing vanilla, and he's saying he hoped for $5 or $6 per month, which would be €4. So I don't know where he got that from, but okay, at least that's what he thought it would be, and he thinks it's a mistake to combine those two games. They should be separate instead, and it did as such. Yeah, well, basically, here's the thing, okay? They already said that it's gonna be one subscription, and like you're subscribing to World of Warcraft, and then you can decide whether or not you're playing Classic or BFA or both. And I think that's a pretty good deal for you to have. I understand that usually this the private realms have been free. And of course I kind of like that, but always keep in mind that if you're not paying for anything, just look at League of Legends communities. If you're not paying for it, people are gonna act like they're not paying for it. If you don't pay someone a good wage, they're not gonna work like for a good wage. That's just a correlation between those two things. If you don't have if you don't pay for a game, or let's put it this way, not all the time, but if you're paying for a game, you're behaving differently. And if you're paying $5, I can understand the thinking behind that. It's like a smaller version of the game, but to be honest, people have been complaining to bring out Classic, and they said they would pay the normal price. Blizzard reacted, and they know that people said they want to pay the normal price. Of course, everybody wants to have it a little bit cheaper, but to be honest, these are things that have been laid out before they make the game and before they commit to the thing, and they probably have laid down a financial plan and how to recoup the costs that they have in making the classic servers. I don't want to destroy anybody's dream, but we're all about dreams here, but them taking or making a change in the subscription plan is very unlikely, because they have probably, most certainly, laid down a financial plan before they got into the commitment of making the classic servers. So this is probably not going to happen. And a lot of people, respond to this. Some people even want to pay more, but to be quite honest, if you're this guy here, the Frozen Beard, what he's saying is true. A subscription cost is perfectly fine, and if you buy it for 6 months, it's €11 per month. And that's actually very cheap, to be quite honest. That's, I mean, here in Germany, that's less than a case of beer, okay? I don't know, that's, $11, that's cheaper than going to the movies. That's cheaper than, I don't know, you get the idea. And you can play both with that. You're getting BFA and the other thing. And maybe, you don't know, maybe someday you want to check out BFA for a day. I know nobody would admit to that, but maybe you do. And you can even pay, you can get it for 11 bucks a month, or and it's been the same price since 2005, as people rightly so point out. So, that's basically what I got to say to that thing. I just think we should get it out of our heads. This is what it's gonna cost, and no need to sound very sarcastic, but sorry, it's not a private server that's for free anymore. People need to be paid for the servers. And the only, there's one point where you could say, okay, Blizzard are cashing in is the character transfers, where there's literally just a cash grab. But this is a subscription. People wanted it. Now please pay it. And I personally would just get used to the fact that it's going to cost this much. They're not going to change it. Very sure about this. We can always hope for a wonder and for a miracle, right? I'm not saying that, but that being out of the way, let's jump into the next topic, which is equally triggering people. And it comes in from Tinky Druid. And he says, Druids, Paladins taunt. First of all, let's clarify one thing. Druids had a taunt in vanilla. So, and Druids are absolutely fine tanks as ferals. They're absolutely fine. Now, further down in this thread, there's a guy that says Druids were fine. Oh wait, they can't block or parry. That's why they can't tank. Well, bro, there's a lot of people that have been through Next. They know that the feral tank is absolutely doing a stellar job and it's absolutely fantastic. And you should check out how a hit table and crushing blows work. And even getting crushing blows doesn't mean you can't tank. People have healed through that, as people correctly state down below, and you have other options to avoid damage, and there's an avoidance table that you can still push off the crushing blows of the hit table, etc. It's too long to explain this right now. I will make a video on this anyway, but let me put it this way: Feral Druids were actually very, very much fine. What this guy is saying though is Paladins could tank with a taunt. Now, Shamans could tank with a taunt and die instantly, he's saying. And he makes a couple of suggestions. I think this was, it's more of a, things you could see happening in the future. And let's get that out of the way, because this is a... Let's get the taunt thing out of the way, okay? They said they're not going to rebalance classes. You know me, as much as I would love to have like a taunt in the game, for paladins, I would love to be a paladin main tank. No doubt about this, right? It's unlikely that just like the subscription fee that it's going to happen, that paladins are going to get a taunt. I think paladins getting a taunt is actually more likely than them getting a Crusader Strike or anything like that. Both of these things are probably not going to happen. Just need to pour a coffee here real quick. Oh yes. The idea is good, don't get me wrong. I think Paladins could definitely need a taunt. Just a normal, regular taunt, not an AoE taunt, nothing. Their threat is actually fine, they can tank fine. Even in raids, the survivability is not the problem. Mana is not as great, but if you pop some consumes and you know how to downrank and how to produce aggro and with lower ranks, it's fine too. You can do it. Just have the courage to actually go and do it. And of course a taunt would help. I absolutely agree. But your place is a different one. If you're tanking with a pally, you're an AoE tank. You're supposed to have an AoE potential where you can play out a lot more AoE potential of the other classes, thus clearing raids faster. And the other tanks that have a taunt take stuff off you to reposition it. That's the kind of the idea behind the AoE tank. You're dealing a lot of damage, you're creating a lot of threat for adds, and there's a lot of threats. Maybe not an MC, but anything after MC has a lot of adds, and you have the potential to play AoE tanking Paladin, and you have a lot of damage. You have a lot of utility for the raid, Sanctuary. Whenever you're not tanking, you can swing the Nightfall, and you can off-heal. Find what you're good at, and what the class is actually good at, and it's a supporter, and you can still be a very good tank for this. It's the same with the Red Paladins. Of course I'd love to have a Crusader Strike. It's probably not going to happen though. And There's ways you can play a red paladin and be very useful to the raid. You're not gonna bring 5 of them. No, don't get me wrong. Nobody wants this. I don't want this. But I love to take 1 red paladin. Although they always disappear once you gear them, because that's kind of the kind of player that attracts red paladin. But wield the Nightfall, use Seal of Righteousness in raids, and then in outdoors you can use the sock and one-shot people. It's a fun thing to play, right? You're useful to your raid, but you gotta admit to your role, and you gotta know what your role is. That being said, it's probably not going to happen. Good idea. Druids have a taunt. Druids are fine. Paladins are playable as prot. Just have the courage to do it. And don't get me wrong, look, no hardcore guild that is looking for a 30-minute, like a 5-minute faster speed run is going to take a prot paladin unless it's a really good player and they have like a whole tactic and strategy based around it. Usually. Don't expect to get into the guilds that have cookie cutter builds and where everybody's rogue or mage and you know, plays the exact same spec and they like it. But there is guilds out there that play with this. I've seen guilds that played with holy paladins, red paladins, and smite priests in one group. That's a fun thing to do, right? Regarding the other topics, I'm gonna keep this thread and we're gonna go back to this because this is like all the you know, additional content for Classic, where Ian has said they are not sure about that yet. They haven't thought about it. They want to get this on the way, and then they're gonna think about, you know, what he's writing. These are actually good ideas, right? Other sets for other specs, level 60 Karazhan, Mount Hyjal, all under the one thing that one how do you say? One condition that no level cap is being raised, of course. But yeah, we're gonna get back into this and read through the thing. It's not very much to read, really. Some guy says 95 of vanilla bosses are taunt immune. That's very interesting to know, which is utterly it's just not the case. You know, there's taunts, and just have the courage to play whatever you like to play. Don't let your dreams be memes, I say. Let's jump into the next topic, that is the Vanilla Dark Knights. And I first thought these are like no changes advocates that go around and screaming re and say don't change anything. While it's already changed, okay? The game is not vanilla. It's been changed. It's 1.12 talents. Let's have an LFR. No. Because, you know, it's already changed, but you know, whatever. That's what I first thought, but it's actually about the Dark Knights in the game. So, Mobius, he's coming in from Clockwork Orange and Torn Druid, and he says, does anyone know if Blizzard is going to put the Dark Knights back in Classic? Personally, I really miss the times when it was really dark at night in the game. And of course, the sandstorms in 10 Hours in Badlands, just a thought that came to mind. It's refreshing to have like a thread that's not triggering people. But I can promise you, if we scroll down further far enough, we're gonna find somebody that's really offended by this. But the first comment is that, you know, vanilla seem to have strong environmental effects, such as darker nights and weather effects. These guys are actually right about one thing. The night in World of Warcraft used to be very dark. I don't know when it got changed. I don't know when that was exactly. Risen says here some areas could have the view distance reduced no matter your graphic settings. That's a good idea. For example, like Duskwood to have like an more representing, you know what it is, more representing atmosphere. And but yeah, people are generally, you know, they like the idea. You know, and I generally like the idea because I thought, I'm very sure that it used to be different. And there's a comparison video here. I'm gonna check that out after the MTA. But yeah, it used to be very dark, and that's what I said. They actually had the survivability skill in where from which you made torches, etc. Because the night, they wanted to have the night so dark in some places like Duskwood that you needed the survivability skill with torches and fires to light the way and to protect your party, basically. And yeah, I'm all for this. This is a very small and refreshing topic. And right, it's to be found out how the new graphic settings are going to play into the weather effects. And this could have some really cool changes, like, you know, very atmospherical. I think everybody's for that. Have cool sand and snowstorms and rain going on, so that's very, very interesting. Coming in from Mobius, and I think this was a very refreshing thread. Darker Nights, yes please. And we have the buffoon of the day, and the buffoon of the day is just highlighting, not to be meant as a complete shaming of people, but sometimes, you know, you just really gotta ask yourself, you know. But I'm guessing it's the same argument with people that think the Earth is flat, and you know, the buffoon of the day comes in from Mended Soul. It's an undead priest, who would have thought, but you know, horde scum. But he says, I figured out what Blizzard is doing. They already have a vanilla client and everything working. They're trying to see what they can get away with. They have secretly gave you false impression of what classic WoW is going to be like, so when it is released and we get the real thing that we are looking for, we will all be surprised. But the thing we're looking, we will also... Okay, so surprised that the authentic vanilla experience is what we will get. I cracked the code, I tell you. And of course he's not very serious about this, I hope, so don't take it as offensive as it might sound. And Gorno rightly so says, tinfoil hats sure are popular these days, and I think he's right. He figured out the plan, and Ian Heizekostas is secretly petting a cat with an evil smile, and he is happy that he got away with the $12 subscription fee to rip off all the classic nubs. That has been MTA 31. I thank you very much for watching, and I'm gonna see you in the next one. Hope you liked it. Leave a comment what you think. Bye bye.